For like decades, the entire story we've been told about weight loss has really revolved around just one thing: willpower. But what if that whole story is just wrong? In this explainer, we're going to dive deep into the new science that shows it's actually our biology, our brains, and the food we're surrounded by that are the real drivers here.
I mean, think about it. If it was as simple as eat less, move more, why is it so incredibly hard for so many people to lose weight and actually keep it off? That frustration is absolutely real, but the answer isn't a personal failing. It's not a lack of willpower. It's a biological puzzle we're only now finally starting to solve.
The goal here is to get past all the shame and move into real understanding. And I think former FDA Commissioner Dr. David Kessler puts it perfectly. The path forward needs to be clear, based on evidence, and maybe most importantly, compassionate.
Okay, so let's just tackle the biggest misconception head-on, this whole idea that weight is purely a battle of willpower. There's a single real-world example that shows exactly why that idea just doesn't hold water.
For this, let's take a little trip to the island of Sardinia. It's a place that was once famous for how healthy and long-lived its people were, but what happened there in just a few decades reveals everything. It shows how our environment, not some sudden collective loss of willpower, can completely change a population's health.
I mean, just look at how fast things changed. For generations, life in Sardinia was about moderation, scarcity, and a whole lot of motion. But then, after World War II, an economic boom kicked off what's called a nutrition transition. All of a sudden, there was this flood of sugar, refined carbs, and processed foods. By the 80s, fast food had arrived, and their entire food world was turned upside down. And the result? Well, the numbers are pretty stark. The obesity rate for Sardinian men went from just 3% in 1969 to almost 10% by 1998. It more than tripled in less than 30 years. So what happened? Did an entire generation just suddenly lose their willpower? Of course not. Their world changed and their bodies responded.
And here's the thing. This change in their environment wasn't some random accident. Nope. It was driven by products that were deliberately designed to change our habits, using a playbook that, well, it might sound a little too familiar.
The key players in this story are what Dr. Kessler calls ultraformulated foods. Now, this isn't just about quick or convenient meals. The word here is engineered. These products are scientifically designed with these perfect storm combinations of fat, sugar, and salt, specifically to light up the reward centers in our brains and make sure we keep coming back for more.
In the strategy the food industry used, it's basically a carbon copy of big tobaccos. Just like tobacco companies tinkered with nicotine levels to get people hooked, the food industry engineers what they call hyperpalatability. They make sure these products are everywhere, 24/7, all designed for maximum brain reward. In a lot of ways, these foods have become the new cigarette.
But how does this actually work in our brains? Well, addiction experts call it an opponent process. It's pretty simple, really. First, you get the A process. That's the initial dopamine rush, the pleasure, the high. But your brain is smart, and it tries to balance things out, which triggers the B process, an anti-reward reaction. That's the crash. That's the withdrawal and distress that creates the intense craving to eat that food all over again. So the only way to break that vicious cycle is to achieve something called homeostasis, basically a state of balance. The goal isn't to chase another high. It's to flatten that curve of dopamine spikes and crashes. Because when your brain isn't constantly on that roller coaster, the cravings that drive the whole cycle can finally quiet down.
Now, for decades, finding that balance felt impossible for a lot of people. But very recently, a new class of medications has come on the scene that offers a biological tool to do just that, and it is fundamentally changing the entire game.
We're talking about GLP-1 agonists. And look, these are not the old-school diet pills that just jacked up your system. No, these are precision tools. They are designed to work on the exact satiety and reward systems that those ultra-formulated foods learn to hijack.
And they have this incredibly powerful 1-2 punch. First, they target your satiety system. They actually slow down how fast your stomach empties, which makes you feel physically full for way longer. But at the exact same time, they go to work on your brain's reward system, turning down the volume on that dopamine response. This reduces the cravings. It's a direct counterattack against that opponent process we talked about.
And the results? Well, they're kind of staggering. In one major clinical trial for tirzepatide, one of the leading GLP-1 drugs, patients lost an average of over 20% of their body weight. That is a level of effectiveness we have just never seen before from a medication.
But
And this is a really important but. It is absolutely critical to understand that these are powerful drugs with very real risks. That same mechanism that makes you feel full, it can lead to a serious condition called gastroparesis. Nausea is really common. There are other known risks, and frankly, a lot of the long-term effects are still being studied. So this is not a simple or easy fix by any means.
Which brings us to a crucial point. While these drugs are without a doubt a revolutionary tool, they are not a magic cure. True, sustainable health is going to require a much bigger strategy. And Dr. Kessler himself is crystal clear on this point. Giving out these drugs by themselves is not good medical care. They are just one powerful tool, but they work best when they're part of a complete system for managing health in the modern world we live in.
So here it is, the new playbook for health. It starts with that medical intervention to break the addiction cycle. That creates this crucial window of opportunity. That's when you bring in nutrition guidance to build new, healthier habits. Then you use behavioral therapy to deal with all the environmental and psychological triggers. And finally, physical activity, especially strength training, to build a strong, resilient metabolism for the long haul. So we now have a tool that can help reset our internal biology to quiet the constant noise of food addiction. But that leaves us with a much bigger, much more complicated question. Can we, as a society, actually reset the very food environment that caused this whole problem in the first place? That right there might just be the single biggest health challenge of our generation.